When you coach a team, there's always that person that wants to do literally everything that they can possibly do for the team. And I think when it comes to Heather, she just constantly had a drive to do anything that she could on this team. And Heather, from just kind of seeing it from a previous athlete that had been on our team, just kind of fell in love with the silks.
It takes a lot of strength, and she was just always trying to try new things, always pushing, and she's very solid.
It was just a normal practice. I mean, we were just back from semester, and so since it was an individual routine, she always wanted to be able to work on it when she could. So anytime we had downtime where we weren't working on a group routine, she would have them set up at the beginning of practice.
She was being hoisted up, and I could see her in my peripheral going up, and then just heard a noise that didn't fit with, you've been in practice hundreds of times, and you just hear something, it's like, that's not familiar.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
The Union College gym, we just had someone fall from the ceiling and she hit the hard floor. The ward.
Fall from the ceiling? What was she doing up there?
Well, we were putting her ropes up for gymnastics and she fell.
Is she awake?
She's completely out.
No. Is she breathing?
I don't know.
Noise, the sound of her hitting was different than
anything that I've ever heard.
They always say oh, it took the air right out of the room, and it was true. It's just there was not
everything stopped.
Yeah, stopped.
I was in the fire engine, and we were driving up Prescott Avenue towards the gym, and we had group of kids running towards us, waving their arms, kind of screaming frantically at us to come to point us in the direction of the gym.
The first thing that we noticed was that she was unresponsive. She wasn't breathing adequately on her own. We wanted to make sure that we held her head in place and didn't manipulate her neck too much, causing any additional trauma to her neck or cervical spine. And then that eventually we would have to try to breathe for her. And when we got to the hospital and we dropped her off, I remember walking down the hall and I was with Deb and I kind of lost it. I remember I used to go to school there and a lot of the staff members I knew. That's the first time I've ever cried after an incident, and it was very emotional for me.
It was the evening of the 14th. I had just gotten home from work. We had just sat down and my phone rang, and it was the coach. And he said, "This is Coach Ryan. I want to let you know Heather has had a very severe accident, and all I can tell you right now is she is breathing, and I will have the doctors call you once we get to ER." And so the first thing I did is I went and got her on the next flight out of LAX to get into Lincoln.
The original EMS squad had reported in that her Glasgow coma score was 3. The score ranges from 3 to 15, so that's the bottom score. And then the news sort of came through that she was from Union College. Shouldn't make a difference, but when it's from your alma mater, things do start to, you prick up your ears and try to figure out, what happened? I know I played basketball in that gym. I know that gym. Where did it happen?
I believe it was an hour and a half, 2 hours before we received the call back. And in fact, the person who had called me, I believe, was Reggie. And Reggie and I were classmates at Union at the time, and he had come in off duty to oversee and take care of Heather and those kind of things. You have to deal with the shock first, and then you have to deal with the pattern of realizing that this is real serious.
She was severely injured. We instituted all of our bag of tricks. We did the hyperosmolar therapy, the anti-seizure medications, started cooling right off the bat.
I still remember what her face looked like when she came in. It looked bad. And you look at her and you know she's young and just not a lot of life in her at that point. And I graduated from Union. I've known people on the gymnastics team, so the more story I heard of her, the more it was like, I don't know her, but it was more of a connection.
We found out that she had severe head injuries from where she'd hit. Dr. Tomes, a neurosurgeon, was immediately available. And I think it was 23 minutes from the time we knew what the injury was until she was in the operating room having surgery being done.
Dr. Burton put her immediately on a tip table. And I knew it was bad because I had never seen that, and he wanted to do it immediately.
We sat her up as soon as we could afterwards, and then we used the standing resuscitation, which is only used in 2 or 3 institutions across the U.S., all in hopes to decrease the amount of cerebral edema and swelling that we knew was going to happen with that brain. In head injuries, you can't save the part that's already injured and dead, but you can save all the tissue around it. And that's what this whole process is for and why we get better outcomes.
I didn't know what to anticipate. On my flight out, I imagined her legs shattered. I imagined her face bruised and battered. I walked into her room and she looked beautiful. She wasn't bruised. Her face, it was her. But she had instruments and equipment surrounding her. But it was so amazing to be near her and to see that she was still with us.
Being in that room, being so cold, and then Dr. Burton had come over. He had pulled up the scans on the monitors. We were clueless as the magnitude that was going on under the skull. And then for me, the breath of air came on Monday when they said she is stable enough. We need to do a scan, we need to do these kind of things, and we're hoping to do it on Wednesday.
The trauma team is always looking for signs of neurologic progress. Is she in there? And I had to keep telling Heather's parents that I didn't have good signs. But my gestalt and gut instinct was that she was in there and that we needed to keep pushing forward.
Sarah and I, we had a little bit of downtime, and I said, you know what, let's go check on Heather. She's like, okay. So we went up to ICU. Her mom was there, her sister was there, and everybody, there was a couple other nurses in the room, and everybody was so excited. We're like, what happened, what happened? She had given a thumbs up. And for us to be able to be there at that point, and they asked Heather a question, she gave another thumbs up, was just remarkable to see any kind of reaction.
That was exciting. We didn't have it consistently throughout the whole time, but we did get some response here and there, and it was good to know that she's here.
You gonna get up and walk? No, I didn't think so.
Heather's hospital stay was very complicated and complex. She had rebleeds, further surgeries, she had seizures, she had increased intracranial pressures with needing ventriculostomy and a VP shunt. All of these things tend to wear down a family. So our trauma team's job is to keep them informed, let them know what's going on, how this affects the end run, or if it does affect the end run, or we don't know. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, our answer has to be, we don't know.
I know that at some points in time, we would talk to her and there would be a tear that would stream down from her right eye. And for me, it was comforting. I felt like she knew we were there.
I got a text from Dr. Tomes one night, and he had mentioned she said hi. So I immediately texted her mom that night or the next morning, hey, can I come visit? So I knock on the door and I walk in the room. And Heather's sitting there. She lifts her hand and she says, hi. It wasn't by voice, because she's still getting her voice back, but she mouthed the words. And for me to remember what she looked like when she came in, how lifeless she looked like coming in, for her to be sitting up in her bed, and she said hi. And then I immediately went in and gave her a hug, and she does a trick where she pretends like she wants a hug, and then she sticks her finger in your ear.
Easy, still gonna take it? Oh my gosh, how's that possible?
Her personality was one of the first things to come out. As we progressed, she was really starting to show signs that, I'm in here, I know what you're asking me to do, I just can't tell you or make my body do what I want it to do.
There's been lots of little steps along the way. We've gotten excited about a lot of movement, but she had full right-sided immobility for months. We were excited when that right leg started to move. Now we're getting excited the right arm is starting to move.
We know the damage at this point that really did occur, and we know the skill set of the people that brought her to where she is today.
The nurses were amazing. They were calming. They took me in like family.
Our team here at the medical center does a fantastic job. They cue off of us, but they all know what their jobs are. They all know what their tasks are, and they all know what is needed to get a champion survivor.
Seeing her laying there helpless and feeling helpless, and then coming here and seeing all the care that people were giving her and how many people were around her constantly, and it was comforting.
For her to be able to walk out of Madonna after her inpatient rehab was really special for everyone that had worked with Heather and for her family.
And then when she came back to the clinic after she'd been to Madonna, it was fantastic. I mean, she's looking at me. She came to my son's basketball game. She was down there, tried to take the money out of my hand. She's there. I'm very proud of Heather and where she is. And we all just wait to see how much farther it is. The speech center is exactly where she hit, so speech is going to be the latest thing to come.
I've never understood traumatic brain injury or one as severe, and when I realized that I could really do something and I was needed here, I decided to withdraw from college, and I just full-time help take care of her so that she could have the best recovery possible.
Heather, how is it having your sister with you a lot?
You like me around all the time? Is it a good thing that I'm around you all the time? Yeah.
The thing with Heather is she hasn't stopped yet. She keeps improving. And I'm like, if anybody can do it, she can, because that was kind of the philosophy and mindset she had when she was on the mats. It's like, you can tell me I can't do it, but so many times it's like, okay, you're right, Heather, you did it.